Welcome to Girl Talk. My name is Caroline Gergis, and I attend St. Mark's Coptic Orthodox Church in Washington, D.C. I have three very special guests with me, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Farida, and I go to St. Mark's.
Hi, I'm Caitlin, and I also go to St. Mark's in DC.
And I'm Catherine, and I also go to St. Mark's.
So today's topic is going to be very interesting. It's not just about friendship in general, but it's the importance of building different friendship circles and why that's important. Growing up, I mistakenly thought that I should only have one group of friends and just stick with that, and that I didn't need anything else outside of that. However, as I grew up, I discovered that I do need different circles of friends, and we're going to be talking to that a little bit right now. So, Caitlin, when you build friendships with people, what are you looking for?
So I think initially when I'm building friendships, I look for compatibility with another person and just dealing with, do you get along with them? Do you guys have the same interests? Do you enjoy spending time together? I think it doesn't necessarily always have to be someone who you believe the same thing about every single thing on, but I think it can have to do with, do you have fun with them? Do they bring out a side of you that maybe no one else can? Do they bring excitement to your life? And then do you also have good conversations? And so I think something that I've always looked for is a variety, and a variety of friendships and a variety of people who offer different things for me in friendships.
That's very, what about you, Catherine?
When I am looking for friends, I think the compatibility thing is huge because no one wants to hang out with someone that they don't get along with very well or don't have any sort of chemistry with. I think for me, something that I'm like a huge proponent of is diversity. I think I spent a lot of time in very monolithic, if you will, settings, and I think that made it really hard for me to find my own self-identity, to not feel as conflicted about my identity, whether that's racially, culturally, religiously. And so I think, especially going to college, I was able to really see that diversity manifested. And so I think at the end of the day, you can get along with a ton of people, and who you decide to keep in your social sphere should be at different levels. And there are some people that I would say I have as my core friends, and those are the people who religiously and values wise, those are the people that I am completely best friends with. I'll tell them everything, we're on the same page. But I think it's so important to have other friends with different trains of thought who can challenge you, who can really get you to question yourself and your backgrounds and your beliefs, because if you're always with the same people at the same time, you will never necessarily grow, and you'll never learn, and you'll never test yourself to go further. And I think it's also important to have different types of friends who you can fall back on for different things, who you can ask different questions with, who you can engage with in really good conversation. But also remembering that at the end of the day, your values in some way, shape, or form should be aligning, and how much they align will probably determine the level of closeness between you guys.
Well, I think it's also important to recognize here that between us here, we're in different seasons of our lives. So where Caitlin and Catherine are is a very different season than where Farida is. And obviously between the two of them, it's a very different season than where I am. So right now I want to focus a little bit about where Farida is, because in high school, what would it look like to form different friendship circles? I mean, you're in a very small school. It's a Christian school. But it's a small school, and your senior class is very small. So what does that look like to you to form different circles of friendships?
So I actually, since my freshman year of high school, I've kind of been a very, kind of a fluid person within friendships. I never had that one group. I kind of just, moved in between. Because I never wanted to have one group. I never, there's always that, I don't know, I feel like I have groups where, if I need to have, a good cry, there's that group. If I need to have, a good laugh, then there's the other group. If I just need to, talk things out and maybe start debating and, get really riled up about something, I have another group for that. And I never found that, just one person or, 2 to 3 people could, fulfill all of those needs. And so my school, everyone's pretty cliquey. So like there's a very like distinct groups and distinct boundaries to those groups. But for me, and also like as a new kid going in, I never really knew which group I'd fit into. And I realized that I didn't fit into one group. And you should never try to fit into one group. I feel like if you force that, it's not really healthy for your own like development and growth. And so I tried to get out of my comfort zone. I talk with the people who do theater. I talk with people who are very like athletic, and I talk to the people who are very like academically oriented. And I just tried to get used to that. And like now, it just like having so many people to talk to, and they don't have to be super like close friends, like the core best friends that you have. Like they can just be people that you can talk to and grow personally through them. So I think that's what I've been trying to do mostly.
That's great. So it didn't actually work against you. You felt it worked for you.
Yeah.
Because it helped you come out of your comfort zone. Okay, we're just going to take a break for a few minutes and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Girl Talk. In this episode, we're discussing the importance of developing different circles of friendships. And Farida just explained what it looks like to have different friendships in high school. And right now, I want to shift over to Catherine and Caitlin, who are in a different season than Farida. So I want you two to discuss a little bit. You know, you grew up as Christians in a Christian environment, going to a Christian school. I just feel like all your friends have been Christians. And now that you're adults and Caitlin's in the workforce, what does that look like for you now, building friendships with people outside that circle of Christianity?
So I think when I first went to college, I went to a secular college, and it was a big school. It was huge. And I was in a dorm room, and virtually no one I lived with were Christians. And that was new to me. I had lived my whole life in a bubble of Christians. My teachers, my friends, my family, everyone were Christians. And so I think going into college, it was so exciting. And I was also very scared. I didn't know how to create healthy friendships with people who are not Christians. But I learned so much doing it. And now one of my best friends is not a Christian, but she is my dearest and closest friend. And I love her so much. And so I think learning how to foster relationships with people who are not Christians expands your worldview, and you bring yourself out of this bubble that we were not really meant to live in. If you think about it, Jesus had his 3 core friends, Peter, James, and John, and then he had his 12 disciples, and then he had tax collector friends, and then he had Mary, and then he had Lazarus and Mary and Martha, and he had different circles of friends, and not all of them were Jewish. Not all of them believed in God and believed that he was the Messiah, but that didn't mean he couldn't be friends with them. Because he was friends with them, he brought salvation to them. And so I think as Christians, like, yes, be grounded in the word, be grounded in people who are like-minded, be grounded in people who believe in God so that they can guide you. But also, how are we supposed to carry out the mission of God if we are not befriending people who do not believe it? Like, how are we spreading the word if we don't have friends who don't believe the same thing we do? And so I think my biggest thing in college was I want to be friends with people who don't think the same way as me, because I want to be a light. I want to show them God's love, and I want them to trust me so that they are open-minded and listen to me. And so I think having different friend groups, like I have a friend group who are Christians and they guide me. I have a friend group who are not Christians, but we go out together and we get dinner and we have fun. And then I have other friends that serve other purposes, and I have found that this is the healthiest stage of my life I have been in because of my variety of friend groups, and because I'm being fed spiritually and I am pouring out spiritually, and I have the ability to do so.
Those are great points. Catherine, what do you think about that?
So I had like a very, very similar story to Caitlin, coming from a very small Christian school. Not everyone necessarily acted Christian by the book, if you will. But so I won't necessarily reiterate everything Caitlin said, but I will say that going to college and experiencing people who weren't Christian, not only were not Christian, but had completely different belief systems or from completely different religions, which admittedly probably the majority of my friends are not necessarily Christian. I think what it actually pushed me to do was to really start researching Christianity and my faith, because I had been fed this entire time, like all of this information, and I didn't actually know what to do with it. And I didn't necessarily know what to do when faced with other belief systems that were different from mine and that maybe I thought was like wrong, but I didn't know why. So I think over the past few years of my time in college, I think I have really pushed myself to learn more about Christianity, why we believe what we believe, why we do what we do, why we're in the way that we are, why we were brought up in this way. And I think that it has expanded my mind so much, not only to hear other people's points of view, but to really delve into what Christianity is. And I think that it is so important to, again, have that core group of friends who will fill you spiritually, because it can be really difficult to maintain spirituality when you are like living on a college campus, because God is really absent from a lot of people, and you do want to be able to bring that light. So I think it's really important, as we said, like to build those boundaries and to make sure that you know where you stand and why you believe what you believe, but also like not being afraid to engage with other people, build those friendships so that you can be a light to them, and then taking that as an opportunity to learn more and to grow more in your own faith, because no one is gonna hear you out if you have no idea what you're talking about. That's how it is, especially in America. At the end of the day, people here are very intellectually driven, and if you don't stand for anything, you will fall for anything. So I think that has been the biggest part of like my college experience. I love diversity. Like again, as I said, like that's a huge deal to me to hear about other belief systems. But at the end of the day, I know why I'm a Christian and I know why I follow this path. And I hope that I have gained so much more knowledge and growth and spirituality from my time in college rather than allowing it to just consume me.
Right. Well, friendship is obviously built on trust. With having different circles, and this question's for anyone who's willing to answer, with having so many different circles of friendships, and with trust being the foundation. And like you said, some of your circles, they're not Christians. And as you said, because they're not going to be able to guide you. When you trust people, do you open your heart to all those different circles? Like, are you okay with all these different circles of friendships that you have, and even people who don't know each other within your own circles, like trusting and pouring your whole heart out to each one of them? Or do you refrain from sharing too much with all those other circles? Like, do you only have like one group that you just pour all your heart to, and the others are not? And would they be considered more acquaintances or friends? So I want to understand the difference between acquaintance, friends, trust, and how you balance all that and bring that all together.
So I think as I started a new job, I have so much fun at my workplace, and I've gotten to know so many people through that, but I find them acquaintances because I don't tell them personal things about my life. I just met them. And so I think starting out with relationships and friendships, it's okay not to build the friendship so quickly and just try to get to know each other so well and tell them everything about your story, because you should not trust everyone. I think a lot of times I've had friendships that have broken because I trusted too much and they have fallen. And that's because humans fall and we are broken. But I do have a core group of friends that I've trusted for over 6-7 years that I know I trust and they trust me. And we go to each other for everything, and that's good. That's healthy. But I also have other groups of friends that sometimes I just want to go grab dinner and have a great conversation with, but I'm not going to tell them my deepest secret that I did in high school. And they don't have a right to know. And I think that that's okay. It's okay to have different friend groups in different seasons. And I think it's okay to also have different levels of friendships with different people. So I think that for me, the variation is extreme in the sense that it's different levels and it's different people, and it makes my life more fun. I think it makes it more exciting. But I have a question for you, actually. I was wondering, because you've lived the longest and you've had the most friendships of all of us, do you think that when you are in a single friendship with a group of people for too long, you become like-minded and you lose part of your identity to that friend group?
Yes, I do. And I think recently as an adult, I mean, I commend all of you for your maturity and your wisdom. I definitely did not have that at your age. And like all of you, I obviously grew up in a very confined Christian environment. So all my friends were Christians. And growing up, yes, I did become like-minded. I lost my identity because I did not understand what it meant to step outside that circle and explore and learn. Because I do believe when you step outside those circles of friendships, you learn, you grow, you gain knowledge. Even if I don't agree with the other people, we can agree to disagree, but at least I've learned from them. I've also realized that growing up and as an adult, when I started going through, problems, the group of Christian friends that I had, that I thought were going to be the ones to support me and stand by me, they were not equipped to do so. And I didn't realize that about them. And actually, it was other people who were acquaintances that I really categorized them just as acquaintances that I discovered were like deeper spiritually, and they were able to enter my situation, and they were actually able to come alongside me. And I could not understand that, and I really struggled with that a lot. And I think it's okay. I learned later, it's okay to say, this group of friends, I love them, and I'm not going to sever my relationship with them. But they were not able to fulfill a need in my life that I needed at that moment. And Caitlin touched up on something very important when she said different seasons of life. I believe that as our seasons of life change, it's okay to have different groups of friends, and you will form new friendships later in life that might end up becoming lifelong friendships. Like you developed friendships in college, and those are going to be your friends for life. Those might be the girls that will be in your wedding party, when you get older. You probably will not call on your childhood friends. And I really struggled with that because I really wanted my childhood friends to be with me for life. But as people grow, we change and we go in different directions. And I had to understand that, and I had to be okay with it. So I don't know, did that answer your question a little bit? Well, I'm going to ask you guys, what kind of friend are you? And have you burned friendships because you could not be a good friend to someone?
Can you elaborate by what you mean? What kind of friend are you?
Like, are you a friend that is there for life? And are you a friend who can handle any turbulence your friends are going through? And can your friends trust you? Or were there moments in your life, you're young, obviously, but were there moments in your life when you could not be a friend to someone? And were you okay with that?
I in my experience, the answer to all of your questions is it depends. It depends on the friend. It depends, again, on the season of life. It depends on what they're going through. I would like to believe that I am trustworthy and that I make myself as open to other people as possible, although some people may not perceive me as that way. I would hope that I come across as that way. But I have had experiences where there have been moments where I have tried to be like the two for some people and realized very quickly that I could not shoulder their burden in the way that they needed me to, and I had to come to terms with being okay with that. Because my personality type is I like to take care of people. I like to be the mom of the friend group. And again, sometimes that varies with friends depending on who I'm hanging out with. But I'm like the nurturing one. And so having to accept the fact that I couldn't take care of someone who was close to me or I couldn't fix their problem was very disconcerting for me. And I had to step away from that friendship, and it was a very hard thing to do because I don't like to think of myself as someone who steps out on other people or who has to distance myself from other people. But it just got to the point where I was like, I am not equipped, and I don't think I am helping you, and I don't think this is helping me either, because with that friendship, it was affecting me mentally and emotionally, and I was unable to actually get her to where she needed to be. But I would like to think that in different circles and different spheres that I take on different roles depending on the dynamic of the group. And I think a very common misconception is that if you are different with different people, that you're two-faced or that you have like a multifaceted personality and that's not okay, that you should be the same with everyone. But that's not the case, because different people bring out different sides of you, as you were saying earlier. And there is nothing wrong with being able to be compatible with different people in different ways.
Yeah. And going off of what you said, I think we might possibly have like the same personality type, because I'm also like the very like mom kind of person in the group. I like to think of myself as very dependable, and like some people, just like you said, they do need different needs. And so for me, that was a hard lesson to learn, that like I wasn't able to help someone. And for me, like how like my kind of emotional state usually like is based off of what my friends feel. So if I just take every burden they have, I just take every problem they have, and if I can't help them, I feel like I failed or something. And so that starts to stress me out, and then I start to go into like kind of a darker place because I feel like I can't help, and if I can't help, then I'm useless and I failed.
So I think I'd like to think generally, obviously I'm with Catherine where I serve different purposes, but generally I think I'm a very non-judgmental person. And I try to really express that in my friendships, that if I have a friend who's going through something, come to me, I won't judge you. I'm here for you. I want to support you. And I think I've done a good job of that within my friendships throughout college. I mean, in college you see everything, and so I've seen everything. But I've also loved people through that, and they've done the same for me. And that's how I know it's a friendship, is that if they can come to me and I won't judge them, and I can do the same, that's equally yoked. That is a friendship I want to keep forever, and that's what I found in my really close friendships. But I think I've also recognized a weakness in me, and that is I'm really bad about keeping in touch with people. And I am. It's not because I don't care about you anymore, but I've had to tell one of my lifelong friends from school that, hey, I really miss you and I love you, but I'm so sorry. I am bad about texting and I'm bad about reaching out, but I promise I'm trying to do better. If you reach out to me, I'm all in. I want to hang out with you. And so we've done a good job of like her reaching out to me a lot, and I will reciprocate. But I think recognizing your weaknesses in your friendships and communicating that to your friends is a game changer, because then you won't lose the friendship. They just understand you more. And I think me finally realizing that is my weakness and expressing that, I've created so many more friendships because of that, and I've been able to foster them healthier.
I love that you touched on that. I actually would encourage our viewers to take that advice to heart, that recognize your weaknesses, because you may not be the perfect friend that you are, and that's okay. And then communicate that to your friends. You know, if you have friends that you have lost along the way, circle back. They're not lost forever. You can actually rekindle those friendships and build them up again. So thank you for joining us today on Girl Talk, and you know, go out and make some friends and enjoy those friendships. And thank you, Caitlin, Catherine, and Farida, for joining us today. And thank you for being with us. Have a great day.